Okay, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania publishes nursing home data regarding the coronavirus or COVID rates in Pennsylvania nursing homes. So here we have an Excel file. We have a SPSS file that's been saved as Pennsylvania nursing homes COVID, and I'll put this in the Blackboard on data. So here's the data. Here are the abbreviations across the top. And so here's how we've coded the variables. County is going to be our grouping variable. We're going to test coronavirus or COVID infection rates and deaths for residents and staff between Allegheny and Philadelphia. So we're going to do an independent samples t-test, and our variables include total beds, all beds, current census, resident cases, resident deaths, staff cases, resident cases per occupied bed, RCPOB, resident deaths per occupied bed, RDPOB, staff cases per occupied bed, SCPOB, and finally, proportion of total beds occupied beds, OB. We're going to test 4 hypotheses. For our first hypothesis, we're going to say that the null hypothesis is that resident cases per occupied bed do not differ between Philadelphia and Allegheny counties. Since we've stated that as difference, this is going to be a two-tailed test. And I think we'll just use 95% for our level of confidence. We're going to have the same hypothesis for RDPOB. Our null hypothesis is no difference in resident deaths per occupied bed between Philadelphia County and Allegheny County. Similarly, our null hypothesis for staff is that there is no difference in staff cases per occupied bed between Philadelphia and Allegheny counties. And then last, just because we can test it, let's check to see if there's a difference between Philadelphia County and Allegheny County in terms of bed occupancy, and for the off chance that that may be impacting the COVID rates. So again, our null hypothesis, no difference in occupied beds between Philadelphia and Allegheny counties. So there are our variables. And we're really ready to do our test. So as you can see here are the nursing homes, and here are the counties, beds, census, resident cases, deaths, staff cases, and our computed variables. This is pretty simple. We're going to go to Analyze, Compare Means, Independent Samples t-tests, and you can see I've already populated this. I'll pull them out and put them back in. So the first thing we do is pick the variables that we're going to test, and the nice thing about SPSS is we can put all of our tests in at one time. So we're going to put these 4 variables in to measure differences. Our grouping variable is the county. It's going to make us specify which is the county here. That's what those question marks mean. So we define groups, and we're going to put a 1 in for Allegheny County for group 1, and a 0 in for Philadelphia County for group 2, since that's how we coded them. Continue. Okay. And here our test has been run for us. Here are the means for resident cases per, 0.15 for Pittsburgh, for Allegheny, 0.44 for Philadelphia. That looks like it ought to be significant. Resident deaths per, 0.03 in Allegheny, almost 0.1 in Philadelphia. Staff cases per occupied bed, 0.8 almost for Allegheny and 0.19 for Philadelphia. So these all look pretty different. These don't. 0.75, 75% bed occupancy in Allegheny County and 76% occupancy in Philadelphia. Okay, so now we'll go down to our independent samples test. Excuse me again. And here's our first test. Resident cases per occupied bed. Our F test is significant. No, it's not. Yeah, it's not significant. So we're going to want to look at equal variances not assumed. And our t-value is 3.5. It's minus 3.5, much lower in Allegheny than in Philadelphia. And since that's greater than minus 1 point or minus 2-ish, you know we're going to reject. And here they give you a p-value, 0.001. And since that's less than 0.05, we're significantly different. We're going to want to reject the null hypothesis and conclude that there are statistically significantly fewer cases per occupied bed in Allegheny County than in Philadelphia County. We can also go over here and see that we don't see much difference here in the confidence interval of the difference. In fact, it's not going through zero. We'll have to look into that. Sort of the same result here for resident deaths per occupied bed. Our F value is not significant. And we look at equal variances not assumed. And our significance is 0.024, which is less than 0.05. So once again, we're going to conclude that there was a significant difference. Same result for staff cases per occupied bed. We're really not significant for our F value, so we do equal variances not assumed. And our t-values minus 2.1, p-value minus 0.043. So we reject the null hypothesis and accept the alternative that there are significant differences in staff cases per occupied bed. And as we suspected, we take a look at occupied beds. No significant F value. Equal variance is not assumed. And now our t is minus 0.356. Our p-value is 0.723, clearly not less than minus 0.05 or 0.05. And so we retain or accept the null hypothesis that there's no difference in bed occupancy between Philadelphia County and Allegheny County. What's all of this mean? Well, there have been significant differences in cases, both among the general public and in nursing homes in the eastern part of the state. And it might be useful to try to figure out what's driving those differences. Is it income level? Is it size of nursing homes? From this, it doesn't look like bed occupancy is an issue. A lot of people have been looking at population density, and when we get the correlations, maybe we'll use this same data and look at population density and see if the population density in Philadelphia compared with Pittsburgh may be driving the coronavirus problems in nursing homes in Pennsylvania. I hope you can see the usefulness of the independent samples t-test. We've clearly established here that Philadelphia nursing homes have significantly greater problems with COVID than do Allegheny County nursing homes. And like I said before, it would probably be good to do some further investigation to figure out why. Thank you, and I hope this helped.